I sat at my father's dinner table staring at the handwritten document he'd just slid across to me. A family financial agreement, he called it. 80% of my salary would go to my brother Derek. 20% to Dad. 0% for me. His voice was casual, entitled like he was discussing what to order for pizza. I looked at that paper, then at him, and I laughed. The sound came out bitter but liberating. I stood up, grabbed my purse, and told him I was keeping 100%. Then I walked out. Forever. My hands shook as I pushed through the front door. Behind me, my father's voice exploded into the quiet Sunday evening. Ruby, you get back here right now. I kept walking toward my car parked at the curb under the dying elm tree that had been there since I was a kid. My heels clicked against the concrete driveway, each step feeling like I was breaking invisible chains. I'm serious, Ruby Ann Anderson. You walk away from this family, you're cut off. Completely. I stopped at my car door and turned around. Dad stood on the porch, his face red, that vein in his forehead throbbing the way it always did when someone dared to defy him. I almost laughed again. Cut me off from what exactly? My voice came out steadier than I felt. You don't have anything to cut me off from. I've been paying your mortgage for 5 years. Derek's car payment. Your groceries. Your utilities. Your cable bill. Your cell phones. Everything. The front door opened wider, and my brother Derek stumbled out looking genuinely confused. At 24, he still had that perpetually bewildered expression, like life kept throwing him curveballs he never saw coming. What's going on, Ruby? Why are you yelling? Ask Dad about his little contract, I said, unlocking my car. The one where I work 45 hours a week so you can sit on his couch playing video games. Derek's girlfriend, Stephanie, appeared in the doorway behind him. She was wearing one of those smirks I'd come to recognize over the past year, the kind that said she knew exactly what was happening and enjoyed watching it unfold. You're being dramatic, Dad said, descending the porch steps. We're family. Family takes care of each other. You're right, I said, opening my car door. Family does take care of each other. I've been taking care of you, for years. While you took and never once said thank you, well, I'm done. Ruby, come on, Derek said, moving toward me. Don't be like this. Dad's just trying to help me get my business started. What business, Derek? The question came out sharper than I intended. The one you've been talking about for 3 years. The one that never materializes because you can't be bothered to actually work. Stephanie whispered something to Derek. He flushed red. You don't know what you're talking about, he muttered. I know I've been supporting 2 grown men who are perfectly capable of supporting themselves. I slid into the driver's seat. Not anymore. Dad grabbed my car door before I could close it. You're making a mistake. A big one. Don't think you can just come crawling back when you realize how hard life is on your own. I looked up at him, this man who'd raised me after Mom died 7 years ago. For a moment, just a flash, I saw the father he used to be. The one who taught me to ride a bike. Who came to every school play. Who told me I could be anything I wanted. Then I remembered the past 5 years. How it started small, just after Mom's funeral. He'd lost his warehouse supervisor job, asked for temporary help with the mortgage, just until he got back on his feet. I'd been fresh out of college, starting my first real job as a junior accountant at Henderson & Associates. $500 a month seemed manageable. But Dad never got back on his feet. The requests grew. Derek dropped out of community college after 1 semester, couldn't keep a job at the hardware store, the grocery store, the call center. Dad asked me to help with Derek's car payment. Just temporarily. Temporary became permanent. 500 became 1,000. Then 1,500. Then Dad sat me down 2 years ago and explained that it would be easier if I just gave him my whole paycheck. He'd give me an allowance for my expenses. Like I was a child. I'd agreed because I was drowning in guilt and exhaustion. Because saying no to family felt impossible. Because Mom always said family was everything. I'd been living on credit cards ever since. Eating ramen and eggs, wearing clothes from thrift stores, working overtime to try to get ahead, but every extra dollar went to them. Life on my own, I said quietly. I've been on my own, Dad. Supporting 3 people on 1 salary. Now I'm just supporting 1. I pulled the door closed, started the engine, and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw Dad standing in the street, Derek beside him, both of them looking shocked that I'd actually done it. The drive to my apartment took 20 minutes. I'd kept my little studio in a cheaper part of town, never told them about it. They thought I lived with a roommate closer to the office. It was my secret, my small rebellion. 500 square feet of space that was mine alone. I climbed the stairs to the second floor, hands still shaking as I unlocked the door. Inside, I dropped my purse and just stood there breathing. For the first time in 5 years, I felt like I could actually breathe. I went to my laptop and opened my financial spreadsheet. The numbers glowed on the screen, a testament to my stupidity and their greed. $73,000 in credit card debt, from supporting them. From being their personal ATM machine. My phone buzzed. Dad calling. I declined it. It buzzed again. Derek. Declined. Then the text messages started rolling in. Dad, you're being selfish and childish. Your mother would be ashamed. Derek, I don't understand what I did wrong. Why are you mad at me? Aunt Patricia, Dad's sister, your father, called me in tears. How could you do this to him? He sacrificed everything for you kids. I stared at that last one. Sacrificed everything. I wanted to throw my phone across the room. Instead, I blocked their numbers. All of them. I made myself a cup of tea and sat by my window looking out at the parking lot below. The relief I'd felt in the car was already fading, replaced by a gnawing anxiety. I knew my father. He didn't accept defeat. He didn't accept the word no. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. Monday morning, I woke up feeling lighter despite everything. I put on my best work outfit, a navy blue pantsuit I'd bought at a consignment shop. At Henderson & Associates, I was good at my job. Really good. I'd been promoted twice in 5 years, worked on major accounts, never missed a deadline. My colleague Lauren met me at the coffee station, her usual bright smile in place. You look different, she said, stirring cream into her mug. Good different. Did you do something with your hair? I did something with my life, I said. The words came out before I could stop them. Lauren's eyes widened. Do tell. I gave her the abbreviated version, demanding family financial exploitation, finally standing up for myself. Lauren listened, nodding, her expression shifting from surprise to recognition. I had an uncle like that, she said quietly. Bled my mom dry for years. She finally cut him off when I was in high school. Best decision she ever made, but it got ugly first. How ugly? Lauren grimaced. He showed up at her work, called her boss, tried to make her look unstable. You need to be prepared for that, Ruby. Her words settled in my stomach like stones. Ruby, Mr. Henderson's assistant, appeared at the coffee station. Mr. Henderson would like to see you in his office. My heart jumped. Now. I followed her down the hall, Lauren, squeezing my shoulder as I passed. Mr. Henderson sat behind his massive oak desk, his expression unreadable. He was in his 60s, gray-haired, usually kind, but strictly professional. Close the door, please, he said. I did, then sat in the chair across from him, my pulse racing. Ruby, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. He folded his hands on the desk. Is everything all right at home? Yes, sir. Why do you ask? Because your father was here this morning. Before you arrived. My stomach dropped. He what? He was very upset. Claimed you'd stolen money from the family. Said you'd been acting erratically, that you might be mentally unstable. Mr. Henderson held up a hand as I started to speak. I don't believe any of that. I'm telling you this because I want you to know what's being said, and I want to hear your side. I sat there frozen as the full weight of my father's escalation hit me. Less than 24 hours after I'd walked out, he'd already come to my workplace. Already tried to destroy my credibility. My father has been financially dependent on me for 5 years, I said, forcing my voice to stay level. Yesterday he demanded I give him 80% of my salary permanently. I refused. This is retaliation. Mr. Henderson studied me for a long moment. I thought it might be something like that. I've seen this before, unfortunately. Family members who feel entitled to someone's success. He leaned back in his chair. I want you to know that your job is secure. You're one of our best accountants. But I also want you to be prepared. If he comes back, if this escalates, we may need to involve security. I understand. Thank you for believing me. Of course. Now let's talk about the Morrison account. I'd like your input on their quarterly review. The meeting shifted to work, but I couldn't fully focus. My father had shown up at my job, on a Monday morning before the workday even started. How long had he been planning this? The answer hit me as I walked back to my desk since last night. Maybe longer. Maybe the contract wasn't a spontaneous demand. Maybe he'd been planning this whole performance expecting me to refuse ready with his next move. I'd underestimated him. I wouldn't make that mistake again. By the end of the day, I'd received 17 more text messages from various family members. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Dad's friends. People from church. All of them telling me I was wrong, selfish, cruel. Dad had mobilized an army, and I was standing alone against it. Tuesday morning, my phone rang before my alarm went off. I grabbed it disoriented, squinting at the screen. Cousin Amanda. One of the few relatives I actually liked. Amanda. It's 6 in the morning. I know. I'm sorry. But I needed to warn you before you saw it online. Her voice was strained. Dad's hosting a family meeting at his house tonight. You're not invited. I sat up in bed. What kind of meeting? The kind where he tells everyone his version of what happened. Ruby, he's saying you stole money that was meant for Derek's business. That you promised to invest in his future and then backed out. People are believing him. My chest tightened. That's not what happened. I know. I was there Sunday, remember. I saw his little contract. But most of the family wasn't there, and Dad's a good storyteller. He's got Aunt Patricia and Uncle Joe completely convinced. Aunt Nancy, too. They're all taking his side. And you. I'm staying neutral publicly, but Ruby, I'm on your side. I just can't say it out loud because my husband works with Derek's friend and it's complicated. I'm sorry. Don't apologize. Thank you for warning me. After she hung up, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. A family meeting. To formally cast me as the villain. To unite everyone against me. I dragged myself to work, my mind spinning with strategies I didn't have. How do you fight a narrative when the person telling the story has a lifetime of credibility and you have nothing but the truth? By lunch, the situation had metastasized online. Lauren showed me her phone, her expression grim. I'm so sorry, but you need to see this. Derek's girlfriend Stephanie had posted on social media. The post was vague, but pointed. Some people abandon family when they need them most. Guess money really does change people. Praying for those who've been betrayed by those they trusted. It had 73 likes and counting. Comments poured in underneath. People I'd gone to high school with. Dad's co-workers. Neighbors from my childhood street. Who is this about? That's terrible. Family should stick together. I always knew she thought she was better than everyone. That last comment came from a girl who'd bullied me in 9th grade. Of course she was piling on now. Then I saw Dad's post shared from earlier that morning. A crowdfunding page titled, Help a Father Betrayed by His Daughter. The description made my blood run cold. After my wife passed 7 years ago, I raised my 2 children alone. My daughter Ruby promised to help her younger brother start his business, a landscaping company that would finally give him independence and purpose. She said she'd invest $20,000. We made plans. Derek quit his job to focus on getting everything ready, and then she cruelly withdrew her support. Now my son is facing financial ruin, and I'm at risk of losing our family home. Any help would be appreciated in this difficult time. Below the text were photos. Me and Derek as kids smiling at a birthday party. Dad with his arm around both of us at Mom's funeral. Me in my college graduation gown. All carefully chosen to paint a picture of a loving family destroyed by one selfish daughter. The page had already raised $800. He's lying, I whispered. I never promised Derek anything. He never had a job to quit. This is all fabricated. Can you report it? Lauren asked. For what he didn't use my name directly. He's just telling a story that everyone will know is about me. My phone buzzed. Mr. Henderson's assistant again. Ruby, Mr. Henderson needs to see you. This couldn't be good. In his office, Mr. Henderson looked more uncomfortable than I'd ever seen him. Ruby, I'm afraid I have more bad news. Your father was here again this morning, with your brother this time. What did they want? They claim to have evidence that you've been using company resources for personal gain. Printing personal documents using company time for personal business. It's all fabricated, I'm sure, but they were very convincing, very detailed. It's all lies. I believe you. But Ruby, I need you to understand something. This firm's reputation is built on trust and integrity. If your family continues to make these accusations, if they continue to show up here, it could impact our client's confidence. I'm not saying your job is in danger. I'm saying we need this to stop. I'll get a restraining order. That might be wise. He paused. I'm going to suggest something, and I want you to think about it carefully. Maybe take a few days off. Let things cool down. If I take time off, it looks like I'm guilty of something. If you're here and they keep coming, it disrupts the entire office. I understood what he wasn't saying. I was becoming a liability. My job, the one thing I'd been certain was safe, was now at risk too. I'll stay, I said firmly. I haven't done anything wrong. I'm not going to act like I have. He nodded slowly. All right, but Ruby, be careful. Whatever's happening with your family, it's escalating quickly. That afternoon, things got worse. My landlord called. His voice was apologetic but firm. Ruby, I received a concerning phone call today. Someone claiming to be a former landlord of yours. Said you'd caused property damage, had noise complaints left owing money. I need to ask, is any of that true? None of it. I've never had any complaints anywhere I've lived. Who called you? They didn't leave a name. But it's made me nervous, and with your lease coming up for renewal next month, I'm going to need to see proof that these claims are false. References, payment history, that sort of thing. After I hung up, I called my car insurance company for an unrelated question and learned my premium had nearly doubled. When I asked why, the agent explained they'd received an anonymous tip about reckless driving incidents. What incidents? I haven't had a ticket in 6 years. The reports weren't specific, but they triggered a review of your policy. The increase stands unless you can provide documentation proving otherwise. My bank called next. Multiple fraud reports had been filed against my account by concerned citizens. They needed to freeze my account pending investigation. 7 to 10 business days. I was being systematically attacked. Every aspect of my stability was under assault, and I couldn't prove who was doing it because everything was anonymous tips and concerned citizens. That evening, I went to the grocery store needing to pick up basics before my bank account was completely frozen. I was in the produce section trying to decide between apples and oranges on my limited budget when I heard Derek's voice. There she is, the family hero. I turned. Derek stood 3 aisles over with Stephanie, who had her phone out already recording. Derek, I don't want to do this here. Why not embarrassed? He moved closer, his voice rising. You should be embarrassed. Dad might lose the house because of you. Our family home, where Mom raised us, and you don't even care. People were stopping, staring. Stephanie made sure her phone captured everything. I paid that mortgage for 5 years, I said quietly, while you did nothing. I was trying to start a business. You promised to help me, then you just walked away. You know what that makes you? A liar. I never promised you anything, Derek. That's your lie, not mine. See. He gestured to the small crowd forming. She can't even admit what she did. My own sister. Destroying her family for what? Pride. I wanted to scream at him. To tell everyone the truth. But Stephanie's phone was recording, and I knew whatever I said would be edited, twisted, used against me. So I set down my basket and walked out of the store. Behind me, I heard Stephanie say, "Did you get all that? This is perfect." I sat in my car in the parking lot shaking. They'd ambushed me in public, recorded it, and would post it online as proof of my cruelty. The edited version would show Derek's accusations and my silence making me look guilty. I was losing. On every front, I was losing. When I got home, there was a notice taped to my door. An eviction warning. 30 days to vacate the premises. My landlord had received a certified letter from a law firm claiming I was under investigation for fraud. The letter looked official, complete with a firm name and legal letterhead. I called the law firm listed. The number went to a disconnected line. The letter was fake, completely fabricated, but it looked real enough to spook my landlord, and that was all that mattered. I slid down my apartment door and sat on the floor, the notice in my hands. 4 days ago, I'd had a job, an apartment, a car, and a bank account. Now my job was in jeopardy. I was being evicted, my car insurance was unaffordable, and my bank account was frozen. My father had done this, all of it, in less than a week, and I had no idea how to fight back. The fake law firm letter was just the beginning. Wednesday morning, 2 police officers knocked on my apartment door. I opened it in my bathrobe, coffee cup in hand, completely unprepared for what was coming. Ruby Anderson, the older officer asked. Yes. We need to talk to you about a vehicle theft report. My brain stalled. I'm sorry, what? Your father filed a report claiming you stole his car 3 years ago. A 2014 Honda Accord. Says he just realized it was never returned to him. I stared at them. That car was a gift. He gave it to me when I graduated college. Do you have any documentation proving that title in your name? And there it was. The trap I'd never seen coming. No, he never transferred the title, but he told me it was mine. Ma'am, if the title is in his name, it's legally his vehicle. He's within his rights to request its return. This is retaliation. I cut off financial support and now he's punishing me. The younger officer glanced at his partner. They'd heard this kind of story before. Family disputes. He said, she said. None of it their problem. We're not here to arrest you, the older officer said. We're here to inform you that if you don't return the vehicle within 48 hours, charges could be filed. We'd prefer this gets resolved as a civil matter. After they left, I sat on my couch, coffee forgotten. My father had given me that car as a graduation present. I remembered the moment clearly. He'd surprised me after the ceremony, handed me the keys, hugged me tight. Said Mom would be proud. Now he was claiming I'd stolen it. I had no proof it was a gift. Just my word against his. And his word came with an official police report. I called a rideshare to take me to Dad's house. I had to return the car. I had no choice. 48 hours or face charges I couldn't afford to fight. Dad answered the door with a smile. An actual smile. Ruby, come to apologize. I held out the keys. Here's your car. He took them, examining them like they were a trophy. Smart girl. See, you're learning. Learning what? That you'll destroy me if I don't obey you. Learning that family is everything. And you need us more than we need you. He pocketed the keys. Your mother would want you to take care of your brother. It's what she asked me to do before she died. That was a lie. Mom had never said that. But she wasn't here to contradict him. I'm done, Dad. With all of this. With you. You'll be back. In a week, maybe 2. When you can't afford your rent. When you realize how hard it is out there alone. He leaned against the doorframe. The offer still stands. 80% to Derek, 20 to me. Come home, Ruby. Make this right. I walked away without answering. 3 miles back to my apartment. I needed the time to think. Without a car, getting to work would be difficult. The bus route added 90 minutes each way. Rideshares would drain what little money I had left. But that wasn't even my biggest problem. When I got home, I found an email from a former client. Subject line, Anderson Accounting Services. I opened it with dread. Ruby, I was surprised to see your family has opened a new firm. Your brother Derek reached out offering bookkeeping services at a discount rate. I wanted to check with you first, since we've worked together for so long. Is this a legitimate branch of Henderson and Associates? Derek had started a fake business using my last name. He was pretending to be associated with me, trading on my reputation, offering services he wasn't qualified to provide. I called the client immediately, explaining it was fraudulent. She was understanding, but concerned. How many other people had Derek contacted? How much damage had he already done to my professional reputation? I spent the rest of the day calling everyone I'd ever worked with, warning them about Derek's fake company. Most people were grateful for the heads up. But the fact that I had to make these calls at all was humiliating. My phone rang. Amanda again. Ruby, I heard about the car. I'm so sorry. How did you hear? Dad's telling everyone, making it sound like you were caught stealing. He's on a roll, Ruby. The whole family is behind him now. Even people who usually stay out of drama are taking his side. I can't fight this, Amanda. Every time I solve one problem, he creates 2 more. I know. Listen, I want to help. My husband doesn't know I'm calling you. Can you meet me somewhere? We met at a diner 40 minutes away, far from anyone who might know us. Amanda slid into the booth across from me, looking nervous and guilty. I can't let this keep happening, she said. I know I said I had to stay neutral, but it's not right. What he's doing to you, it's evil. Do you have any idea how to stop him? Maybe. She pulled a folder from her purse. I've been at Dad's house a lot this week, for the family meetings, and I've been paying attention. Ruby, Derek doesn't want to start a business. He never did. Then what does he want the money for? Gambling debts. The word hit me like a slap. What? Derek has a serious gambling problem. Has for years. Dad's been covering for him, hiding it from everyone. The business story is just that, a story. A cover for why Derek needs money. Amanda pushed the folder toward me. I took photos of some documents I found in Dad's office. Credit card statements, loan papers, text messages between them. I opened the folder. Page after page of evidence. Derek's credit card charges at casinos, cash advances, personal loans with predatory interest rates. Text conversations between Derek and Dad discussing the Ruby plan, the exact words. Dad remortgaged the house 6 months ago, Amanda explained. Not because you stopped helping, because Derek owed people money. Dangerous people. Dad paid off $20,000 to protect Derek. But Derek still owes $30,000 more. That's why they need you. They calculated it all out. Your salary, what they need monthly, to cover the debts and keep Derek gambling. I felt sick, so the 80% would have trapped you forever. Every year Derek would have needed more. They'd have bled you dry, and you'd never have been able to leave, because they'd have made you feel responsible for saving Derek's life. Why are you showing me this? Because it's wrong, and because I have a daughter. I don't want her growing up thinking it's okay to exploit family like this. I want her to know what real family looks like, and this isn't it. I photocopied everything at the diner. Amanda kept the originals to put back before anyone noticed they were gone. We hugged in the parking lot, and she made me promise to protect myself. He's not going to stop, Ruby. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Be ready. She was right. Friday afternoon, I was called into Mr. Henderson's office again. This time, his expression was genuinely regretful. Ruby, I'm sorry. I fought for you. I really did. But the partners have made a decision. My stomach dropped. You're firing me. We're letting you go. Effective immediately. 2 weeks severance. He slid an envelope across the desk. Your father came back twice more this week. He's made complaints to our business bureau. Filed reports with the state accounting board claiming you've been embezzling from clients. It's all false, I know that, and you know that. But the investigation process alone will take months, and during that time we can't have you working with clients. It's a liability we can't afford. So he wins. He wins this round. But Ruby, document everything. Fight back through proper channels. People like your father, they get sloppy eventually. They overreach. He handed me a business card. This is my personal attorney. Tell him I sent you. He'll work with you on payment. I took the card, the envelope, with my final paycheck, and walked out of Henderson and Associates for the last time. Lauren caught me in the parking lot, tears in her eyes. This is wrong. Everyone knows it's wrong. Wrong doesn't matter if you can't prove it. I hugged her. Thank you for being my friend. She slipped $200 in cash into my hand. Don't argue. You need it more than I do. That night, I packed my belongings. The eviction notice was final. My landlord wouldn't budge even when I offered to pay 3 months' rent up front once my bank account unfroze. The fake letter had scared him too badly. I had nowhere to go. Amanda couldn't help, her husband had forbidden it. Lauren offered, but she had a tiny one-bedroom apartment with her boyfriend. I couldn't impose. There was only one place left for people like me, people who'd lost everything. The women's shelter on 4th Street had a bed available. I moved in Sunday evening with everything I owned in 3 suitcases and 2 boxes. The shelter was clean but institutional. Shared bathrooms, shared kitchen, shared sleeping space with 8 other women. The intake coordinator was kind but matter-of-fact. I wasn't the first professional woman she'd seen fall this far, and I wouldn't be the last. That night, lying in an unfamiliar bed surrounded by strangers, I cried for the first time since this started. Quiet tears that soaked my pillow. I'd lost my job, my home, my car. My savings account was frozen with negative $900 from overdraft fees. My credit cards were maxed at $73,000. And my father was still out there, still attacking, still determined to break me completely. I'd hit rock bottom, and I had no idea how to climb back up. Monday morning at the shelter started with a 6 o'clock wake-up call. We had 2 hours to eat breakfast, shower, and clear out for the day. Shelters weren't meant for living, just sleeping. During daylight hours, we were expected to job hunt, apartment hunt work, if we had jobs anything but stay in the building. I took the bus to the public library. It cost $2 each way, eating into the $200 Lauren had given me. But the library had free internet bathrooms and places to sit. It became my office. I spent the morning applying for jobs, accounting positions, administrative roles, bookkeeping, receptionist work, anything. I applied to 43 positions in 4 hours. By afternoon, I'd received 17 rejections. Automated responses. Thank you for your interest, but we've decided to pursue other candidates. I called one company back, asked to speak to their HR department. The woman who answered was clearly uncomfortable. Ma'am, I really can't discuss specific hiring decisions. Please. I just need to know why. My qualifications matched perfectly. A long pause. Your previous employer gave a less than favorable reference. That's all I can say. Henderson and Associates. Or more specifically, Mrs. Walsh, the senior partner who'd taken a dislike to me years ago. She must have been the one fielding reference calls, sabotaging me even after I'd been fired. I thanked the woman and hung up. Then I put my head down on the library table and tried not to scream. Rough day. I looked up. A woman in her late 40s sat across from me, a kind smile on her weathered face. She had short gray hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. You could say that. I'm Diana. I volunteer at the shelter on 4th Street. Saw you check in yesterday. She gestured to my laptop and pile of printed resumes. Job hunting. Trying to. Not going well. Let me guess. Bad references from people trying to destroy you. I stared at her. How did you know? Because I've seen it before. Strong, capable women driven to desperation by family members or partners who can't handle their independence. They use the system against you. Wreck your credit, your employment, your housing. Make you look unstable so nobody will help you. Diana leaned forward. My advice. Document everything. Every text, every call, every incident. They think they've won. That's when they get sloppy. What if documenting everything doesn't matter because I can't afford a lawyer? There are options. Legal aid. Pro bono attorneys. You'd be surprised how many people want to help when they see clear evidence of abuse. She pulled out a business card. This is my number. Call me if you need someone to talk to, or someone to help investigate what's being done to you. You're a private investigator. Semi-retired. I volunteer at the shelter because I had my own situation years ago. Abusive ex-husband who tried to ruin me. I fought back and won. Now I help other women do the same. She left the card on the table and walked away. I stared at it for a long time, hope and skepticism warring in my chest. That evening, walking back to the shelter, I passed Derek's apartment building. I shouldn't have gone that way. It was out of my route. But some masochistic part of me needed to see how he was living while I slept in a shelter. His car was in the parking lot. Stephanie's too. Through a first-floor window, I could see them inside, laughing about something, eating takeout pizza. My phone buzzed. A notification from social media. Derek had posted a photo of himself with Stephanie caption reading, "When life gets hard, you find out who really has your back. Grateful for real family." 237 likes. The comments made my skin crawl. People praising him for staying strong. People condemning his unnamed sister. People who had no idea what was really happening. I kept walking. At the shelter, I met Diana again. She was helping serve dinner, ladling soup into bowls with the same kind smile she'd had at the library. "Back already," she said when I reached the front of the line. Where else would I be? After dinner, I sat in the common room trying to figure out my next move. My bank account was still frozen. I had $163 left from Lauren's gift. No job prospects. No housing prospects. My phone buzzed. Dad calling from a new number. I'd blocked his old one. I should have ignored it. But something in me needed to hear his voice, needed to confirm he was really this monster I now believed him to be. "Ruby, finally," you answered. "What do you want?" "I want to help you, sweetheart. I heard you lost your job, that you're in some kind of trouble. Come home. We can fix this together. You got me fired. You got me evicted. You destroyed my reputation and my finances, and now you want to help." I was upset. I reacted badly. But I'm your father. I love you. This has gone too far. Just come home, apologize to your brother, and we can put this all behind us. So I can give you 80% of a salary I don't have anymore. We can renegotiate. 40%. That's fair, isn't it? You keep more than half. He was negotiating like this was a business deal. Like he hadn't just spent 2 weeks systematically destroying my life. I'd rather live in a shelter than give you one more penny. Then you'll live in a shelter. Your choice, Ruby. Your choice. He hung up. I sat there, phone in hand, finally understanding the full scope of his plan. He'd intended to drive me to complete desperation. To make me so desperate that his offer looked like salvation. To make me beg to come back and accept whatever terms he set. He'd almost succeeded. Wednesday afternoon, walking back from another fruitless day of job applications, I felt dizzy. The world tilted sideways. I grabbed a lamppost to steady myself, but my legs gave out anyway. I woke up in an emergency room. A nurse stood over me, checking my blood pressure. You fainted on Maple Street. Someone called an ambulance. You're dehydrated and your blood sugar crashed. When was the last time you ate a full meal? I tried to remember. Yesterday morning. That explains it. You need to eat regularly, stay hydrated. We're giving you IV fluids now. You'll feel better soon. I can't pay for this. We'll work something out. Right now, just rest. The bill came 2 days later. $3,800 for emergency transport, IV fluids, and observation. I had no insurance after losing my job. No way to pay. Another debt. Another wait. Friday morning, my bank finally called. The investigation was complete. All fraud reports had been traced back to the same IP address. My account was being reopened. Can you tell me whose IP address it was? I asked. I'm sorry, ma'am. Privacy policy prevents us from disclosing that information without a subpoena. But you know who filed false reports against me and you can't tell me. That's correct. But we are flagging them in our system. If they try this again with any customer, we'll know. Small comfort. My account reopened with a negative $900 balance. Overdraft fees from automatic payments that bounced during the freeze. I was in the red before I even started. I hung up and just sat there on a library computer staring at the screen. Every solution created a new problem. Every escape route led to a dead end. I'd never felt more alone in my life. That weekend I attended the shelter support group. Women sharing stories of domestic violence, addiction, job loss, family betrayal. When it was my turn, I told my story. The whole thing start to finish. Afterwards, Diana found me in the hallway. I've been thinking about your situation, she said. I'd like to help. Pro bono. I'm going to investigate your father and brother. Find out what they're really up to. Get you evidence you can use. Why would you do that for free? Because I see myself in you. 20 years ago, I was sleeping in a shelter too. Someone helped me then. I help others now. It's how this works. That night, lying in my shelter bed, I thought about Diana's offer, about Amanda's documents, about the evidence slowly piling up. My father had pushed me to rock bottom. But maybe rock bottom was also where I'd find solid ground to push back from. Maybe this wasn't over yet. Monday morning, I met Diana at a coffee shop 2 blocks from the library. She bought us both coffee and muffins, waving off my attempt to pay. Consider it an investment in justice, she said, pulling out a laptop. I've been doing some preliminary research on your family. Tell me everything you know about Derek's gambling. I showed her the photos Amanda had taken, the credit card statements, the loan documents, the text messages. Diana studied each one, carefully taking notes. This is good. Really good. Your father and brother have been running a coordinated campaign against you. That's conspiracy. That's fraud. That's harassment. If we can prove it, you have grounds for a civil suit and criminal charges. I can't afford a lawyer. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. First, let's build an airtight case. She turned her laptop toward me. I've been monitoring their social media. Derek's been posting a lot, bragging about money, showing off new purchases. For someone claiming poverty, he's living pretty well. She was right. Derek's recent post showed him at restaurants buying new electronics, wearing expensive sneakers. His girlfriend Stephanie posted photos of gifts he'd given her. The crowdfunding page raised almost $3,000, Diana said. I checked the accounting. None of it went to saving your father's house. It went straight into Derek's personal account. That's fraud. That's very provable fraud. We just need to connect the dots publicly. Diana made more notes. I'm going to start surveillance. Follow Derek, see where he goes, who he meets. Document his actual lifestyle versus the sob story he's selling online. This sounds expensive. I told you I'm doing this pro bono. I have my reasons. Over the next week, Diana worked. She tailed Derek to casinos, photographed him gambling away hundreds of dollars at a time. She documented his meetings with loan sharks, recorded conversations where Derek bragged about scamming the family. Meanwhile, I got a phone call that changed everything. Ruby, it's Lauren. From Henderson. Lauren, how are you? Good. Listen, I have news. Mrs. Walsh was fired. She was taking kickbacks from clients, embezzling money, and Mr. Henderson found out. He's trying to clean house and repair the firm's reputation. And Ruby, he wants to talk to you. My heart jumped. About what? About your job. He knows Walsh gave you a bad reference. He knows she probably sabotaged you to cover her own crimes. He wants to make it right. I met Mr. Henderson that afternoon at a neutral location, a quiet restaurant far from his office. He looked older than I remembered, tired. Ruby, I owe you an apology. A big one. He slid a folder across the table. Mrs. Walsh was stealing from the firm for years. You were getting close to discovering it in your audit work. That's why she went after you so hard. When your father showed up making accusations, she saw an opportunity to get rid of you before you found the evidence. She used my family crisis to hide her own crimes. Exactly. And I didn't see it until it was too late. I'm sorry for that. I want to offer you your job back. Senior accountant position, raise. Back pay for the time you were terminated. And I'll personally call every company you've applied to explain what happened, clear your name. I could barely breathe. You're serious. Completely. Henderson and Associates made a grave mistake. I'm trying to correct it. I accepted on the spot. Signed the paperwork right there in the restaurant. Walked out with a new employment contract, a check for back pay, and something I hadn't felt in weeks' hope. That evening I met Diana at our usual coffee shop. She spread surveillance photos across the table. Your brother's in deep, she said. I followed him to 3 different casinos this week. Watched him gamble away over $2,000. Money that came from that crowdfunding page, by the way. I verified the transactions. So he scammed people donating to help him. That's exactly what he did. And I have proof. Diana pulled out another folder. I also found something else. Your father's mortgage isn't actually in danger. He remortgaged 6 months ago. Got a chunk of cash. Used it to pay Derek's debts. The house is fine. The whole crisis was manufactured. She showed me bank statements she'd obtained through methods I decided not to ask about. Proof that Dad's mortgage was current. Proof that Derek's debts were his own choice. Proof that everything they'd told the family was a carefully constructed lie. We need a lawyer, I said. I might have someone. Diana made a call, spoke quietly for a few minutes, then hung up. His name is Marcus. He works at the legal aid clinic downtown. He's good, and he's got a soft spot for cases like yours. Meet him tomorrow at 10. Marcus turned out to be a sharp-eyed man in his early 40s, wearing a slightly wrinkled suit and an expression of permanent skepticism. He listened to my entire story, without interrupting, reviewed all the evidence Diana and I had gathered, and leaned back in his chair. You've got one of the strongest cases I've seen in years, he said. Conspiracy fraud, defamation, harassment, filing false police reports. Your father and brother committed multiple crimes. We can pursue this civilly and criminally. I can't afford your rates. Legal aid is income-based. Given your current situation, you qualify. I'll take your case. He started making notes. Here's what we're going to do. First, we file a motion to dismiss your father's lawsuit with prejudice. Then we file a countersuit for damages. Then we file criminal complaints with the police. We hit them from all sides at once. Will it work? With this much evidence, absolutely. Marcus smiled for the first time. Your father made a critical mistake. He thought you'd break. Instead, you documented everything and found good people to help you. That's going to cost him dearly. Over the next 2 weeks, Marcus worked fast. He filed motion after motion, each one backed by irrefutable evidence. He subpoenaed the bank for the IP address records. He submitted Diana's surveillance photos. He attached Amanda's documents. The crowdfunding platform shut down Dad's page and refunded all donations after Marcus sent them evidence of fraud. Henderson called every company I'd applied to explain Mrs. Walsh's betrayal, vouched for my integrity. 3 companies called me back with job offers. I politely declined happy at Henderson and Associates. My bank account slowly climbed back to positive territory. I moved out of the shelter into a small but clean studio apartment. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I bought groceries without calculating every penny. I paid off Lauren the $200 she'd given me, though she tried to refuse it. Amanda called me one night crying with relief. "Ruby, I'm so proud of you. You fought back. You won." "We're not done yet. The court date's in 3 weeks." "I know. And I'm going to testify. I don't care what my husband says anymore. This is right." The day of the preliminary hearing arrived. I wore my best suit, the one Henderson had bought me as a welcome-back gift. Marcus met me outside the courthouse, confident and prepared. Inside, I saw them. Dad and Derek sitting with a cheap-looking lawyer who'd clearly been bargain hunted. They looked smaller somehow, less intimidating. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Derek looked genuinely scared. The hearing was brief. Marcus presented evidence. Their lawyer fumbled, unprepared for the mountain of documentation we'd gathered. The judge listened, asked pointed questions, and made her ruling. Dad's lawsuit was dismissed with prejudice. My countersuit would proceed to trial. Criminal investigations would be opened for fraud and filing false reports. And the judge granted an immediate restraining order, keeping both Dad and Derek at least 500 feet away from me at all times. During recess, Derek found me in the hallway. His lawyer had stepped away. Dad was in the bathroom. We were alone for the first time since this started. "Ruby, I'm sorry." His voice cracked. "I'm so sorry." "You should be." "Dad, he made me think this was all okay. That you owed us. That you were being selfish. But I see it now. I see what he did. What we did." Derek's hands shook. "He's been controlling me my whole life. Using my addiction to keep me dependent. I didn't realize it until now." "That doesn't excuse what you did to me." I know it doesn't. But Ruby, I want to help. I'll testify against him. I'll tell the court everything. The gambling, the lies, the plan, all of it." I studied my brother's face. He looked older than his 24 years. Tired, genuinely remorseful. Or maybe just scared of the consequences finally catching up. "Why should I trust you?" "Because I'm in recovery now. Real recovery. And part of that is making amends. You don't have to forgive me. I just want to do the right thing for once." Dad emerged from the bathroom and saw us talking. His face went purple with rage. "Derek, get away from her now." Derek flinched but didn't move. "No, Dad." I said now. No, Derek's voice rose, echoing in the courthouse hallway. "I'm done. I'm done with the lies and the manipulation. And using Ruby. She's been supporting us for years, and we thanked her by trying to destroy her." Dad moved toward Derek, aggressive, threatening. Security appeared instantly, stepping between them. The judge, who'd been watching from her chamber's doorway, intervened. "Mr. Anderson, you're perilously close to contempt charges. Sit down and be quiet, or I'll have you removed." Dad, Saturday. But the look he gave Derek was pure hatred. I realized in that moment that I wasn't the only victim of my father's manipulation. Derek had been trapped too, in a different way. It didn't excuse his choices, but it explained them. The hearing ended with the judge noting Derek's apparent willingness to cooperate. She scheduled the next court date for 6 weeks out, giving both sides time to prepare. As I left the courthouse, Marcus beside me, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Power. Not over anyone else. Just over my own life. My own choices. My own future. Dad had tried to take everything from me. Instead, he'd given me the greatest gift possible, the absolute certainty that I deserved better. And I was going to make sure I got it. The next 6 weeks were a whirlwind of legal preparation and personal rebuilding. Marcus filed the official countersuit seeking $250,000 in damages for defamation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, fraud, and conspiracy. The number made my hands shake when I saw it on paper. "It's not about the money," Marcus explained. "It's about sending a message. What they did to you was calculated and cruel. The damages reflect that." Criminal complaints were filed with the police. Detective Sarah Grayson was assigned to the case. She was thorough, professional, and clearly disgusted by what Dad and Derek had done. "I see too many of these," she told me during one interview. "Family members exploiting each other. The system isn't set up to handle it well because people assume family means love. But sometimes family is just shared DNA with shared toxicity. Diana's surveillance continued. She documented Derek meeting with his loan sharks, captured audio of Dad coaching Derek on what to say to family members, photographed them celebrating at a bar after my eviction. They thought they'd won, Diana said, showing me the photos. Look how happy they are. Your misery made them happy. Remember that when you start feeling guilty. I did feel guilty sometimes. Late at night, lying in my new apartment, I'd remember good moments. Dad teaching me to ride a bike. Derek's laughter when we were kids. Mom's voice saying family is everything. But then I'd remember the contract. 80% of my salary. 20% to Dad. 0 for me. The entitlement in his voice. The cruelty in their campaign. And the guilt would fade, replaced by righteous anger. At work, I thrived. Henderson promoted me to senior accountant with a substantial raise. My colleagues who'd witnessed the whole saga treated me with new respect. I'd survived something that would have broken most people. Lauren and I went out for drinks one Friday night to celebrate. You're like a phoenix, she said, raising her glass. Rose from the ashes stronger than before. I'm still in the ashes. The trial hasn't happened yet. But you will rise. I've never doubted that. The local news picked up the story. A reporter named Jennifer Harris had been following the court filings and reached out for an interview. Marcus advised me to accept. Public opinion matters. Your father tried to use it against you. Let's use it in your favor. I met Jennifer at a neutral coffee shop. She was young, sharp, and clearly hungry for a story that would make people care. I've been covering family exploitation cases for 2 years, she said. Yours is one of the worst I've seen. Would you be willing to go on camera? I hesitated. Will it help? It'll expose what happened. Show people the real story. Your father's crowdfunding page is still out there in screenshots even though it was shut down. People donated money based on lies. They deserve to know the truth. I agreed. The interview aired on local news 3 days later. Jennifer had done her homework. She showed the crowdfunding page, contrasted it with evidence from the lawsuit, interviewed Diana and Amanda, presented documentation of Derek's gambling and Dad's manipulation. The story went viral. Within 24 hours, it had been picked up by regional news outlets. By 48 hours, it was trending on social media. Public opinion shifted dramatically. The same people who'd condemned me now posted apologies. Strangers sent messages of support. Someone created a legitimate crowdfunding page to help me with legal fees. I didn't ask for it, but I accepted it gratefully when it raised over $10,000 in a week. Dad tried to respond. He posted a long, rambling statement on social media, claiming the media had twisted the story, that I was vindictive and cruel, that he was the real victim. Nobody believed him. The comments on his post were savage. Your daughter has proof. You have excuses. Imagine trying to exploit your own child and then playing victim. The courts will sort this out and you're going to lose. Derek, meanwhile, stayed quiet. He'd moved out of Stephanie's apartment after she dumped him, moved back home with Dad. But according to Amanda, he wasn't speaking to Dad much. He was attending Gamblers' Anonymous meetings, actually trying to get help. He wants to testify on your behalf, Amanda told me over coffee. He's serious about making amends. Do you think he means it? I think he's terrified and realizes how badly he messed up. Whether that's genuine remorse or just fear of consequences, I don't know, but his testimony would help your case. Marcus agreed. Derek's cooperation would devastate Dad's defense. A son testifying against his father, admitting to the conspiracy, explaining the manipulation. It was powerful evidence. 2 weeks before the trial, Derek's lawyer contacted Marcus. Derek wanted to meet with me with both attorneys present to discuss his testimony. We met in Marcus's conference room. Derek looked terrible. He'd lost weight, had dark circles under his eyes, dressed in clothes that hung loose on his frame. Thank you for meeting with me, he said, barely making eye contact. I'm here. That doesn't mean I forgive you. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want to tell you the truth. All of it. About Dad, about the gambling, about how he planned everything. Derek pulled out a notebook. I've been writing it all down in therapy. Every lie, every manipulation, how he's been controlling me since Mom died, how he used my addiction to keep me dependent, how he convinced me you were the enemy when really you were the only one trying to help. His lawyer, a tired-looking public defender, nodded. Derek is willing to testify to all of this. In exchange, we're hoping the prosecutor will consider a plea deal on the criminal charges. Marcus looked at me. It's your call. I stared at my brother. This person I'd grown up with, played with, loved, who'd participated in destroying my life. Why should I trust anything you say? Because I have proof. Derek pulled out his phone. I recorded conversations with Dad. I still have all our text messages. I kept receipts from the crowdfunding money showing where it really went. I have everything. He wasn't lying. Marcus reviewed the evidence Derek provided. Hours of recorded conversations where Dad explicitly discussed the plan to trap me in financial servitude. Text messages detailing exactly how they'd coordinate their attacks. Proof that everything from the beginning had been carefully orchestrated. This is better than we could have hoped for, Marcus said. With Derek's testimony and this evidence, we have an airtight case. I looked at Derek. You'll testify to everything. No holding back. No protecting Dad. I'll tell the complete truth. He doesn't deserve protection. Not after what he did to both of us. The trial date arrived. The courtroom was packed. Family members filled the gallery, split into clear factions. Some still supported Dad, most didn't. Amanda sat directly behind me, a reassuring presence. Dad and his bargain lawyer sat at the defendant's table. Dad looked defiant, like he still believed he'd win. Like he still thought the judge would see things his way. He was in for a shock. Marcus presented our case methodically. Diana's surveillance photos, bank records, the crowdfunding fraud, false police reports, Amanda's testimony about the documents she'd found, Henderson's testimony about Dad's harassment at the firm. Dad's lawyer fumbled through weak objections, unable to counter the mountain of evidence. Then Derek took the stand. The courtroom went silent as he was sworn in. Dad stared at him with such hatred that the judge had to remind him to control his reactions. Mr. Anderson, Marcus began. Can you describe the relationship between your father and sister before this conflict began? Ruby supported us, financially and emotionally. She paid our bills, bought our groceries, kept a roof over our heads. For 5 years, she gave us almost everything she earned. And how did your father respond to this generosity? He took it for granted. He told me Ruby owed us, that she was selfish for keeping any money for herself. He said family means sacrifice, and she wasn't sacrificing enough. Tell the court about the contract. The one requiring 80% of Ruby's salary. Derek swallowed hard. Dad calculated Ruby's annual salary at $75,000. 80% of that is $60,000. That would cover my gambling debts and give us enough to live on. The 20% to him was payment for setting it up, for manipulating Ruby into accepting it. And when Ruby refused, Dad had a backup plan. He was going to systematically destroy her life until she had no choice but to come back and accept any terms he offered. He said, and I quote, "She'll be begging to give us 100% when we're done." The courtroom erupted in whispers. The judge banged her gavel. Derek continued detailing every step of the conspiracy. The fake law firm letter, the police report about the car, the complaints to Ruby's employer, the anonymous tips to her landlord and insurance company. All of it planned, coordinated, deliberate. My father said Ruby needed to learn her place, that women get ideas above their station and need to be reminded who's in charge. Derek's voice broke. I went along with it because I was desperate. Because I owed dangerous people money. Because I was weak. But that doesn't make it right. What we did to Ruby was evil, and I'm sorry. Dad's lawyer tried to discredit Derek on cross-examination, painting him as a vindictive son turning on his father. But Derek's evidence was too solid. The recordings, the texts, the receipts, all of it confirmed his testimony. The judge called a recess. In the hallway, I saw Dad try to approach Derek. Security stopped him, but not before he got close enough to hiss. "You're dead to me." Derek just looked sad. "I've been dead to you for years, Dad. I just didn't realize it until Ruby showed me what real strength looks like." When court resumed, the judge delivered her preliminary ruling. Dad's lawsuit was dismissed. My countersuit would proceed to damages phase. Criminal charges would move forward separately. But Dad's lawyer pulled him aside during the break. I watched them have an intense conversation. Dad shaking his head, his lawyer insisting. Marcus leaned over. "I think they're going to offer a settlement." He was right. Before the day ended, Dad's lawyer approached with a proposal. They wanted to settle everything civil and criminal, avoid a drawn-out trial. The terms were significant. A full public apology posted on all platforms where they'd spread lies. $80,000 paid to me covering my debts and damages. A permanent restraining order. Mandatory counseling and gambling treatment for Derek. Return of all crowdfunding money to donors or donation to the homeless shelter where I'd stayed. Written apologies to Henderson and Associates and any other parties they'd harmed. It's not the $250 we asked for, Marcus said, but it's everything you actually need, and it ends this quickly without months more of trial stress. What about the criminal charges? Derek cooperates, fully provides, all evidence testifies if needed. In exchange, he gets a plea deal. Probation, community service, mandatory treatment. Your father faces more serious consequences. Detective Grayson says he's looking at potential jail time for the fraud and false reports. I thought about it. About what I wanted. What I needed. I want the apology. I want the money to erase the debt he created. I want them out of my life permanently. If this accomplishes that, I'll accept. Marcus negotiated minor adjustments, strengthening the restraining order terms, and adding provisions that Dad could never contact my employer or landlord again under any circumstances. We accepted the settlement. Dad signed the papers with shaking hands, his face a mask of rage and humiliation. The judge made the terms part of the official court order, meaning any violation would result in immediate contempt charges. As we left the courthouse, Amanda hugged me tight. You won, she whispered. You actually won. I had. Against all odds, against all the pain and loss and desperation, I'd fought back and won. But the victory felt hollow in one way. I'd learned something important. Some relationships can't be repaired. Some people don't deserve second chances. And that's okay. Walking away from toxic family isn't cruel. It's survival. It's choosing yourself. It's claiming the life you deserve. And I'd done exactly that. 6 months after the settlement, I stood in my new apartment, coffee in hand, looking out at the city skyline. It was a real apartment this time. 1-bedroom, hardwood floors, a kitchen with actual counter space. Nothing fancy but mine. Earned. Paid for with money I kept for myself. The $80,000 settlement had done what it was meant to do. I'd paid off all $73,000 in credit card debt. Cleared the medical bills from my emergency room visit. Bought furniture, stocked my kitchen. Rebuilt the life Dad and Derek had tried to destroy. The rest went into savings, my safety net, my promise to myself that I'd never be that desperate again. Henderson and Associates had promoted me twice more. I was now an accounting manager overseeing a team of 3 junior accountants. My salary had increased to $95,000 annually. Every penny of it was mine. On my refrigerator hung a printed copy of Dad and Derek's public apology. I kept it there as a reminder, though I rarely needed to look at it anymore. The apology had been posted across all their social media accounts, shared to local community groups, sent to everyone who donated to the fraudulent crowdfunding page. We, Thomas Anderson and Derek Anderson, publicly apologized to Ruby Anderson for our actions over the past year. We engaged in a coordinated campaign of harassment, defamation, and fraud. We filed false reports, spread lies, and attempted to destroy her reputation, employment, and housing. We were wrong. Ruby was supporting our family for years, and we responded to her reasonable boundaries with cruelty and manipulation. We are deeply sorry and take full responsibility for our actions. The post had gone viral in a different way than Dad's original lies. Thousands of comments from people who'd faced similar family exploitation, people thanking me for fighting back, people sharing their own stories of surviving toxic families. I'd become, in a small way, a symbol. Proof that you could stand up to abuse even from family. Proof that victims could become survivors, then fighters, then winners. Diana called me weekly to check in. We'd become genuine friends beyond her role in my case. She'd moved on to helping other women, using my case as a template for what was possible when you refused to give up. "How are you doing?" she asked during our last call. "I'm good. Really good. Better than I've been in years. No regrets. About fighting back. Never. About the family I lost." I paused. "Sometimes. But I didn't lose family. I lost people who were exploiting me. There's a difference." Lauren and I had dinner reservations that evening. She picked me up in her car, grinning. "You're glowing," she said. "Success looks good on you." It feels good, too. Over dinner, we talked about work, relationships, plans for the future. Normal things. Boring, wonderful, normal things. The kind of conversation you can only have when you're not drowning in crisis. Have you heard from them at all? Lauren asked carefully. She always asked eventually. Derek sends letters through his therapist. Asking for nothing, just sharing his progress and recovery. I read them, but I don't respond. I'm glad he's getting help, but I'm not part of his healing journey. And your father? Nothing. The restraining order's permanent. He can't contact me, can't come near me, can't interfere in my life in any way. Detective Grayson monitors it closely. One violation, and he faces serious consequences. Good. After dinner, Lauren dropped me home. I climbed the stairs to my apartment, unlocked the door, stepped into my space. The next morning, I had an unusual appointment. Diana had invited me to speak at the women's shelter where I'd stayed during my darkest days. I'd been nervous about it all week, but I'd agreed. The shelter looked different now. Less institutional, more like a place of temporary refuge rather than permanent defeat. The women gathered in the common room faces, showing various stages of hope and despair. I told them my story. Not the condensed version, but the real thing. The years of exploitation. The moment I said no. The systematic destruction of my life. The shelter bed. The desperation. The decision to fight back. The evidence gathering. The allies who appeared. The victory. When I finished, a woman in her 30s raised her hand. How did you know you'd win? How did you have the courage when everything was falling apart? I didn't know I'd win. I just knew I couldn't keep living as someone's ATM machine. And courage isn't about not being scared. It's about being terrified and doing it anyway. Another woman asked, what if your family had actually needed the help? What if they weren't just using you? Then they would have treated me with respect. Real need looks different than entitlement. Real family doesn't destroy you for setting boundaries. A younger woman, maybe 22, spoke up. My mom's demanding I give her most of my paycheck to support my 3 younger siblings. She says it's my duty as the oldest. Is that the same thing? I recognized myself in her uncertainty. Are you the parent of those siblings? No, but she says family helps family. Family does help family. But help is temporary. Help is voluntary. Help doesn't leave you drowning. If your mother's demanding your money instead of building her own stability, that's not help. That's exploitation. The women asked more questions. I answered honestly, drawing on everything I'd learned. When the session ended, several women came up to thank me privately. One pressed a note into my hand. Later in my car, I read it. You showed me it's possible. Thank you for not giving up. I sat there for a moment, letting that sink in. My nightmare had become someone else's roadmap. My pain had purpose. That evening, walking into my apartment building, I ran into someone I never expected to see. Derek stood near the entrance, not close enough to violate the restraining order, but clearly waiting. I'm not supposed to be here, he said immediately. I know. I just wanted to see you. Just for a minute. Derek, you can't. I know. I'm leaving. But I wanted to tell you in person I'm 8 months sober from gambling. I have a job. Not a great one, delivery driver, but it's honest work. I'm paying off my own debts now. Slowly, but I'm doing it. That's good. I'm glad you're getting help. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know I'm trying to be better. The person I should have been all along. He took a step back. You were right to leave. You were right to fight back. You saved yourself. I wish I'd been brave enough to do it sooner. He walked away before I could respond. I watched him go, feeling something complicated. Not forgiveness, not yet. Maybe never. But acknowledgement that people can change even if that change doesn't rebuild what they destroyed. A few weeks later, I received a letter forwarded through Marcus. From Dad, but screened to ensure it didn't violate the restraining order. I almost threw it away unopened. Lauren, visiting that evening, stopped me. You should read it. Not for him. For you. So you know exactly what you're walking away from. The letter was what I expected. Dad claimed he'd changed, that he understood his mistakes, that he wanted a relationship with me. He suggested therapy together, family mediation, a path to reconciliation. I'm your father, he wrote. That means something. Blood is blood. We can rebuild what was broken if you'll just give me a chance. I read it twice, looking for genuine remorse, finding only manipulation dressed up as healing. Some people apologize because they're sorry for what they did. Others apologize because they're sorry they got caught. Dad was the latter. I wrote a response, brief and final. I appreciate that you're claiming to have changed. I hope for your sake it's true. But I don't need to be part of your redemption story. You had years to treat me with respect. You chose cruelty. I'm choosing peace. Please don't contact me again, even through attorneys. I've moved on. I suggest you do the same. I sent it through Marcus and deleted Dad's letter. That chapter was closed. What I'd learned through everything was this: your worth isn't measured by what you give others. It's inherent. It exists whether anyone else recognizes it or not. For years, I'd believed my value came from supporting Dad and Derek, from being useful, from sacrificing. But I'd had value all along. Not because of what I gave, but because of who I was. Family doesn't have the right to exploit you. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. And sometimes the people closest to you are the most dangerous because they know exactly how to hurt you. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. I'd spent years trying to save Derek from his own choices, trying to save Dad from the consequences of losing his job. But they didn't want saving. They wanted enabling. Fighting back doesn't make you cruel. It makes you strong. Walking away doesn't make you heartless. It makes you wise. Choosing yourself, keeping your 100% doesn't make you selfish. It makes you free. Every relationship has terms. For years, I'd accepted terms where I gave everything and received nothing, where my needs were irrelevant and their demands were absolute. That wasn't family. That was imprisonment. Real family celebrates your success instead of exploiting it. Real family respects your boundaries instead of trampling them. Real family lifts you up instead of tearing you down. And if the family you were born into doesn't do those things, you're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to choose yourself. You're allowed to keep your 100% and build a life that actually belongs to you. The greatest lesson I learned was simple, but profound. Your life belongs to you. Not your parents, not your siblings, not anyone who shares your blood or your history. You. All 100% of it. That Friday evening, Lauren texted me, "Drinks tonight, my treat." I smiled at the message and typed back, "Actually, this one's on me. I can afford it now." I grabbed my purse, locked my apartment, and walked out into the evening. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Somewhere in this city, my father and brother were living with the consequences of their choices. Somewhere, women in a shelter were hearing my story and finding hope. And I was here free, whole, victorious. I kept my 100%. And I've never been richer. Now, I want to ask you something. Have you ever felt pressured by family to give more than you could afford, emotionally or financially? Have you struggled with setting boundaries with people who were supposed to love you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your story might help someone else find the courage to choose themselves. If this story resonated with you, please like this video. Subscribe to hear more stories about ordinary people finding extraordinary strength. And share this with someone who needs to hear that it's okay to walk away from toxic family, that it's okay to choose yourself, that keeping your 100% doesn't make you selfish. It makes you free. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it reminds you that you deserve respect, boundaries, and a life that belongs entirely to you, no matter who tells you otherwise. Take care of yourselves, and remember your worth isn't measured by what you give others. It's inherent, unchangeable, and completely yours. Until next time, keep choosing yourself.